Got no audio.
Oh my goodness, it's an interesting morning. We're gonna do this because everyone wants to hear this in the morning.
Wake up, buyer payer people. It's a beautiful day. Go grab yourself another cup of joe and say hello to Jim and Michelle Rhoads on the Buy Here Pay Here Morning Show. Take it away, you two.
All right. Okay. So yeah, it's oh my gosh, it has been such an interesting morning. Oh my!
If somebody can hear us, just say we hear you.
Put us out of our misery. So glad that it's Friday.
What a mess over here. This is quite a thing.
It's been like a comedy of errors.
Yeah.
Since the moment we woke up this morning, and it's that was, and we were just talking with Bill, who's backstage, and he had some stuff happen this morning too. He could share if he wants to, but it's just I think I'm a little bit off kilter or something.
Something's not right.
I had a major mishap in my kitchen this morning. I was making a beautiful breakfast, and the pan that I was making it in shattered, glass everywhere. So I had to clean everything up and then restart over again.
So that started the Friday a little bumpy.
It was.
But yeah, I think this is why really with the morning show that I like to really set expectations low so that people, so that it's easy for us to exceed those expectations.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, we got some weird stuff going on in our platform this morning. Like I don't know which platforms are hearing us and which ones aren't, but let's just let's get started, shall we? Whoever's they can always catch us after the fact.
Yeah,
right? So
absolutely.
you can let that go. I think it's not going to happen. So.
Okay. Well,
yeah.
There you go. Yeah. Okay. So today we have a very special, do we have an announcements before we go?
Just a quick one. Thanks again to the folks at the Utah Independent Auto Dealers Association. They invited us down to spend the day with them. And they're, I think that was their first time to do a conference. And so,
it was so well attended too.
Yeah, it was really nicely attended. A lot of great dealers and great network started right away. Excellent education. We had the opportunity to sit in the room and listen to Greg Miller, who's the oldest child of
Larry H.
and Gail Miller. And so it was so wonderful to hear the story. And he was so genuine and generous with the storytelling and answering questions. And it was just really a great thing to be there.
The big takeaway that I from Greg, and it was really beautiful. I don't know how many people know the Larry H. Miller kind of story. And I mean, it was a pretty big, it is now, but the family sold the dealership, so it's owned by someone else now. But about how the different milestones and shifts that happened, and he was talking about how, the kind of like, not really regrets, but like things that wish had been done differently. And my biggest takeaway, which, we talk to a lot of dealers out there all the time about, we've said delegate. And Greg, one of the things that he said was that his dad, would spend 60 to 80 hours a week working, and just really was, he had a hard time letting go. And so when his dad got sick and they started letting things go was when their business boomed.
Like 200% kind of boom. So so it's just it was a really important lesson, and it's one that he takes is, this idea of delegating and getting people in there that you develop them and
let them do what you've hired them to do.
Yeah.
And, sometimes they might have ideas that are even, that might do some great things that are not your ideas, but it's good.
And I think most of us know that. It's just a hard thing to transition to. And I think Greg just articulated it really well from inside a massive dealership group. If they weren't the biggest in the country, they certainly were the biggest in the West. Yeah. And so, massive organization, managers that had been in place for, 15 plus years. And so it was an interesting story to go inside one of the biggest operations, in the car business. Yeah. And he has a lot of heart for it.
Oh my gosh.
Anyway, enough about all that. I just think it was, we're grateful to have the chance to spend some time down there, and shout out to Jeff Watson. He does such a great job.
So, he moderated a few different things, and Nick Marcosian was one of the speakers and also on a panel. And I don't know how many of you know him, but he's probably one of he is the the biggest within buy here, pay here, lease here, pay here within the state of Utah. And just really beautiful to listen to his story.
Well,
and so I'd love to have him on the
just
show
one more
these
that was
days.
so generous with,
Oh, yeah.
you know, contributing to their fellow dealers.
Yeah.
Like nobody's in there hiding secrets. Like it was a really great thing. And I think they had excellent attendance, and we look for more of that. Look to support them in whatever they do going forward.
Okay. Hello,
Mr.
Bill.
Bill.
Hello.
Glad to have you here, Bill. We hadn't seen you in a while.
I know.
You know what? I've just been a lot of traveling. I haven't had a chance to be on the show, but every chance I can, I at least try to tag and say, hey, good morning. And then I've got to go, okay, goodbye.
Thank you. Well, one of the things, like I said, this morning, discombobulated, we were in the middle of making the second breakfast, and Bill text messaged me, he says, I'm in. And I was like, oh, you're an hour early, but you know,
yeah, we're still making breakfast over here. So.
I hope you can still make
It's
it.
been one of those mornings.
I
had my own, but you know what? I know not everybody else wants to hear that, but you know, it's been a good morning as well. So you know, every day I wake up and you know what? I'm smiling, putting on, going out there and trying to do something positive and move on from there.
So, Bill, those of you who, I think just about everybody knows who Bill is, but Bill is a senior moderator for the 20 groups in NIADA. And he also has spent a lot of time with Nick Markosian, like we had just said. And we sat at the table with their entire team, and we mentioned, you know, we've got you coming on. They go, you know, Bill, he's our guy. Yeah. And I was like, yes, we do.
He
when
won't
he comes
admit
into
that
town.
He knows us, but yeah.
And so, so hopefully some of them, we're like, you know, listen in, we're going to have this happening. So,
so I got to ask you, Bill, what is, when you say senior 20 group, is that like senior citizen, or what is the senior part of that thing?
I saw that too. Well, you know, when I put that on there, I'm like, because it said earlier, it actually had senior NIADA, and I'm like, hold on, I'm not a senior first. Although, look, I am happy to tell you that I love it when I age up in my age group, because it's all different in the world.
Yeah.
You know, I'm now the youngest in that age group of wherever I'm at. And I'm in the 55 to 59, just to kind of, in case anybody's wondering, that's okay. You can look it up. And I'm always excited about it. Not excited to be in the 58 and 59, not so much.
Hey,
then I'm going with younger guys.
Jim's got a big birthday this year.
I'm turned 60 this year, so you know, I own this gray hair that I got. A lot of this is painted on, but I do, and you know, as consultants, we can own the gray. That just means we're well traveled, right?
Yeah.
That's right, exactly. Pools that I've been in.
Right.
Yeah. Hugo asked, what are all the pins on the map behind you?
Yeah, it's a work in progress for my 20 group members, and a couple of places of where I've lived. So I've got those pinned in just kind of a clear, so it's not really, it's not as conspicuous. But my daughter just brought me a few more. She's like, Dad, those pins are too big. Here's some smaller ones. So
great.
I've got,
like I said, it's a little bit of a work in progress. These seem to be a little bit more too big, but that's okay. But yeah, 20 group members, as well as, and you can see that it's a lot more on the eastern side than there are on the western side. So trying to work towards that, trying to get some of the more west side of the United States. So but it's definitely great stuff.
When you say mostly on the east side, it's like we're all over the place too, but it's a lot of our clients too are on the east side of the nation. A lot of them.
Yeah, but it's you know what? Hey, it's I know of a lot of them that are back up in Montana and over in California and Utah, of course, Salt Lake City. So you know, great places. I'm even got a few more that I'm going to be able to pin pretty soon into Arizona. I've got some 20 group members that are going to be coming over from there. So looking forward to it. So anyway, that's it's not all the pools that I swam in. I've swam in a few more.
Watching.
Mine is the places where I've eaten tacos. That's what my map is.
Or queso, or had an old fashioned.
Right. All that fun stuff.
Love both of those.
Yeah, right. There you go.
Well, yeah, it's kind of our stick.
And I guess, Bill, you're hearing me okay. My audio sounds a little funny on my side, but you're hearing me fine? So
I can hear you fine.
Okay, cool.
So let's jump into, we got together today to talk about repos. We're, you know, our month of May has been focused on collections. And so we've kind of tackled the pre-delivery part that is collections and all the things that lead up to underwriting and closing. And we even covered a couple of things, you know, as post-delivery, how to kind of support collections and facilitate communication. So for today, we wanted to dig into repos. And I think, you know, all those things that we've talked about up to now would hope to help facilitate communication, a good relationship with the customer, and help to eliminate or, you know, at least reduce the number of repos. But for today, we kind of want to talk about those customers who fall into what we're calling an at-risk category, where they're either, you know, they're not communicating, they're at a stage of delinquency, or whatever might put them in an at-risk category. Then I think for today, we wanted to have your help in talking through some ways that dealers could maybe save more of those and reduce repos in that situation.
Sure, absolutely. Well, you know, and that's it's always been big to me. Collections, I love it. Every part of it. There's not anything that I don't enjoy about collections. Even having the opportunity to talk to the toughest customer, because at the end of the day, I get a chance to at least understand from their point of view what exactly has happened, how the relationship went, you know, maybe south in that case. You know, and that's big. So kind of talking about repossessions and, you know, how does it get to that point? You know, I think we kind of have an idea. There's communication. There's a lot of other opportunities that people have, because they don't necessarily listen to everything that's going on in the conversation. I do a lot of role plays with a lot of different individuals, and I learn things about, you know, what they're listening to. A lot of times there's a one-track mind. I got to get my money. I'm not listening to what they just told me and what they've just explained to me about, hey, I just got a new job. I'm leaving this one. I'm moving. I'm doing this. Don't listen to any of that. I got to get my payment. That's all I'm worrying about.
Right.
Well, then 2 weeks later, 3 weeks later, the car gets turned in. Maybe it's a voluntary repo. Maybe it's one that you have to go pick up. But at that point in time, what did you miss? And these are the comments that I kind of make to individuals to say, you know, how did we miss that part of it? And so when I talk about, you know, whether it's kind of saving a repossession, and I will tell you that we always used to have boxing gloves because, you know, I would call it that we were fighting for our customer. We're not going to lose them. We're going to have these boxing gloves. So, you know, it's just like you know, Sugar Ray Leonard. Hey,
there you go.
Little plug for NIADA. All right. There you go. Where's the bell? Ding. You know, we would truly fight for our customers to make sure that, you know, there was an opportunity for us to make sure we listened to what they had to say and we understood. Because at the end of the day, I don't think that they want to get out of the car. They don't want to lose it. They put so much money into it, but they're frustrated. And or they could be frustrated about something else that had nothing to do with it, but we caught them on a bad day. You know?
They could also be inexperienced or scared. You know, that happens too. And sometimes, you know, some of that falls on us when we don't communicate well enough from our end to make sure the customer knows how to navigate when they fall into a difficult spot, right?
What I heard too from what you said, and this is anyone who's involved in customer service, period. Collections, any kind of this customer service. It's about learning how to listen. And you don't listen, you don't listen with the intent to respond. You listen with the intent to understand. And there is a big difference, and it is a skill. Some people are born with it, but a lot of people have to learn it. And it just comes through practice, and it's just, you know, zip it, just listen, take notes, you know, whatever it is, and get and parrot it back, whatever it is. And so you're listening actively to what someone is saying.
Absolutely. Probably one of the biggest reasons as to why I kind of cut my hair and I make sure that I have nothing covering that, so that, you know, I can listen with both of these.
Oh, that's smart.
You know, I kind of make sure that.
Yeah, cool.
I should like wear my back a lot more. Right. So but yeah,
you know, it's important to definitely listen and gather that insight and information, because I will say this, and I say this in every one of my collection classes, and everything that I talk about. Everybody will tell you everything you need to know if you just listen to what they're saying. They're explaining to you how things are going to go, what's happening, what's going on in their lives. But that's that one moment that you're not listening and you're paying attention to something else, or all of a sudden you're on your cell phone and you didn't hear what they had to say. But that is it's the worst thing, because all of a sudden you miss the one piece of information that's going to help you be successful with that particular customer. Or, as one of my newer, dealerships that I'm working with, they call them guests. And I think Jeff Watson also calls them guests, which is, at the end of the day, that's important, right? So, they're not just one person just out there and they're just bought a car from me. No, they're trying to do something to better their lives. I help them try to better their lives. I need to work harder at making sure that I can keep them in that same focus and that same goal of bettering their life at that point in time.
Do you find that when you are actively listening, and this is like one of the things that I've noticed with Jim, that when he's training salespeople, even for how to get through some difficult conversations, is there's an awful lot of silence that happens. It's like, because people, when you allow them to speak and allow them to work things through, a lot of times they come up with their own solution, and you're just giving them the space to create a solution. And because most people feel very uncomfortable in silence, and so they will try to fill it, and they usually will fill it. Well, they frequently will fill it with a solution of some kind. And
and of course, go ahead.
Go ahead, Jim.
Now at my age, a lot of the silence is just trying to remember what I was going to say, but no, I'm sorry, I got to behave. No, I think that Tyler Simmons piped in about, and he's absolutely right. It's interesting how a conversation can go even with an angry customer when you allow them to ventilate, say what they want to say. They need to feel like they've been heard. And I think, part of affirmative listening, for lack of a better explanation, is to then kind of, when the customer finishes, you kind of recite back to them what you heard them say, so that you can make sure that you're understanding the whole situation. I think people are relieved in that, to know that that you've heard them.
Well, and then that's where miscommunications can, if you parrot back to them what you just heard, and if you got it wrong, they're going to correct you.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's that's a beautiful practice to parrot back what was just said and what the circumstances are. Yeah.
But I think you can help de-escalate. I think I would be interested in knowing, with all of your experience, I wonder on the collection side, what approach, if I'm just thinking about, how do you manage queues? What's the tone? If I've got a customer that's not yet at risk, what's the tone that you generally advise in collections? And then we can talk about the same thing when they fall into that at-risk status.
Absolutely, Jim. I think that I'm always firm but fair, and I always do it with a smile. No matter what I'm going to do, no matter how much I'm going to talk with them, I might be frustrated. Doesn't matter. I'm still going to smile and say, hey, you know what? Look, your 2 payments past due, but we're going to have to take care of this one way or another. So how are we going to take care of this today? What are you going to do to kind of help me help you? Mm-hmm. So, kind of thing at that point in time, but it's a positive. Look, the minute that I start to turn negative and I'm not having a positive vibe to be able to talk with somebody and have that communication, I've lost them. And make no mistake, for forever and a day, because of the way that I approach things and that I talk to people, and, how I'm just positive in at least trying to figure out a solution, even if they don't want to, even if they try to hang up on me. Mm-hmm. You know what? Don't let your money get mad. You're going to go home at the end of the day. It's a quote that I've used for years and years. And I say that because I don't need to be frustrated. It's just, this is part of what I do. This is part of my responsibilities. I've just got to do it the best way I can. And I might as well enjoy it while I'm doing it, because, hey, if I can help somebody and I can get them to grow, even better. And one thing I want to touch back on that you guys made a comment on that I thought was very important is, the customers will always tell you the truth about everything that's going on. If you stay silent, they're going to actually tell you like I said, everything you need to know, but they're sometimes going to tell you the truth because they don't like that silence any more than you'd like to not talk sometimes. And they will tell you because all of a sudden they're like, oh, I better tell them something because they're figuring me out. And but that's, there's also some that they just take advantage of you. They're upset, they're mean, they're frustrated, and all they're doing at that point in time is they're playing that card. But here's the one thing. Buy here, pay here customers across the board are the same. No one can ever, I have worked all over the United States. So have you. Jim, I know you've traveled well, with a lot of different clients that you've talked to, and so have you as Michelle as well. But as far as talking to individuals, I've worked California, Washington, Georgia, you name it. I've done business with somebody all across the country, and everybody can tell me all day long, well, my customers are different.
Yeah.
They're not.
I can tell you they're not.
Yeah, I always stop them.
They are the same thing.
We hear that all the time. Like
that's one of the two things I hear. The other one is, Jim, I can't buy cars like that around here. But the one.
That's right. So, but getting back to repossessions and just kind of talking a little bit more about that, I want to make sure that, whatever we do, I know we have a few more minutes. I want to at least give some thoughts and some ideas to everybody because, it's active listening. That'd be number one. Mm-hmm. Number two is making sure that you're noting everything that you're talking about.
Amen.
In the system.
Amen.
I mean, I can't tell you how much that is. I mean, these are simple. I mean, I'm not telling you anything. Probably everybody's going to say, oh, yeah, Bill, we do that. Really? Okay. You know what? Let's go and review. I'll review 10 of your accounts of your repossessions, and you tell me where all those notes of what you just told me are in there. And what you find is that they're not. And so that's number two. Number three, in my mind, would be if you are updating and getting good information before they even get to that point, you're at least acknowledging that you're concerned and you're trying to be as informative about what their situation is going in before that even happens. So those are definitely some good. That's 1, 2, and 3 that are simple, but they're very important. And if there's nothing else you're going to take from today's call and in the podcast that we're having right now, that's going to be the 3 that I will tell you that are the most important, that are going to be ideal for everybody to help save their repossessions. That's what we're talking about, right?
Like the third thing, when making sure you keep the information updated. It just makes, I'm wondering if you're thinking the same thing. We've had Maggie Pagesic on the show, and she's like, every time someone calls, review their address, their, like all of the pertinent information. It takes like 15 seconds to 30 seconds and then get into the thing.
Maggie will be with us next Friday.
Yeah, she will be with us next Friday. But what I can see from that is that if every time they call, it's like, no, we are actively making sure that we know where you're at and we know what the situation is, and are you still working for so-and-so, and that just all of the stuff. And so that for me, the way I would look at it is it actually creates a little bit more of a responsibility on them. What you're asking for those things every time. So it's like, we're serious about this. Has it changed? We're here to help, but we need to know all the stuff every time I call.
I want to go back to tone, because I got to say that the thing that, if I think about customers been with us for 6 months and they've maybe had a little tick up here and there, but now they're falling into a difficult spot, job change, whatever. And so I'm thinking about how the tone and the nature of the dialogue that we've had with the customer up to that point is going to affect their willingness to talk to us. Like, are they going to operate from a place of being scared and run and hide? Or do they feel like the tone of the dialogue up to now has been that Bill's Auto Credit really wants to help me. Like, they really genuinely have shown me that they want to try to work through this stuff. And so I think, the tone that we convey in all of our collections. And one of the things that frustrates me, Bill, is that I've been in collections rooms, you've been there, where the collectors are just making these calls one after another. It's some sort of, it's almost feels like it's a machine room. It's like everything's, I'm just talking about the collectors themselves on the phone sound very robotic. So I think the tone is such that, if I left a message for you that says, we need to hear from you by 6 o'clock today, blah, blah, blah. It's very serious. It's very threatening almost. And it's like, that's one thing. But if I leave a message that just says, hey, Bill, it's Jim over at, Jim's Auto Credit. We missed you yesterday. If you just please reach out to us right away. We want to help solve whatever's going on. So it's more of a tone and an approach that I think what I used to follow, Bill, was I had a dealer that used this terminology, and I kind of tried to utilize it in all of my trainings and in my own dealership. Is like if there's an opportunity to say to the customer at any stage, hopefully it's early, but we would just basically say to the customer, look, there's not going to be anything that comes up during the time that you have this car financed with us that we can't work out together. If you'll come sit in that chair and talk to me, there's not going to be anything we can't work out. So I think that whole tone needs to sort of, permeate all of the things that we talk about with the customer and the attitude that we bring. Because I think when we're threatening with our messages, or even if our auto dialer just leaves a message that is robotic and doesn't show any kind of compassion for my customer situation, then I'm not surprised that they're not going to answer, especially in an auto dialer situation. Like if I answer it once as an auto dialer and I know what it's going to say, I'm the customer and I know I'm past due. Like, what's the point of listening to the auto dialer? I don't need to answer that thing anymore. I know exactly what it's going to say to me,
Sure.
Yeah.
And that's my problem. So it's like, I know some of the systems will then connect you to a collector or whatever, but the reality is I'm just saying, if the tone is such that I don't really buy that your collections department is really interested in my success. I think what you want is your payment.
Right.
That's the tone that I'm trying to differentiate, right?
Absolutely. I think, let's talk a little bit more about that. How many people, and even the ones that are listening right now, or maybe that'll listen in the future to this, is that you don't answer the phone. Bill's Auto Credit. This is Bill. How can I help you? If you don't say your name, or you don't say the name of your business, or you're just answering, hey, hello, whatever, you've already lost them at that point in time, because you're not making them feel comfortable that they're even calling the right place, that they know who they're talking to. So you're absolutely correct, Jim. The tone has to be in it. You're right. It starts at the very beginning, and it's our tone. It used to be so great when customers would walk in, and we'd have so many walk-in customers because they could see you smile. They could truly see you smile, and they know, hey, I'm here. I'm going to take care of my payment, even if they were frustrated and upset. And I've had some very, very upset customers that have come in, talked to me, and by the time that they're leaving, although it wasn't always, PC, that I wasn't correct by HR standards, but they would hug. Or, they wouldn't want to hug. Hey, Bill, thank you so much. Appreciate it. Wonderful. I love that. But you know what? You don't get that from a phone, and an emoji is not going to do it for you. So, if you're not answering the phone right, if you're not talking to the customer properly, you're going to have bigger issues. So, that's why they run and hide, because they don't think that you're actually trying to help them at that point in time. It's a perfect scenario. I give you a perfect example this morning. Okay. Here's one of the things that happened to me this morning. My dog chased a bird up one of the pipes that we have that come down, the water comes out of the gutter. Right. And, she was just chomping at it, and she chomped it so hard that she kind of, crinkled it. And I'm using this example because I think it's right in line. Well, I'm now trying to get the bird out. The dog's inside, and, she is a bird dog. I get it. But, she's inside, and, I want to get the bird out of there. Well, the bird doesn't know that I'm trying to help them. They're thinking if I'm trying to knock on it and I'm trying to get them to go down, they're like, no, there's a dog down there. I don't want to go down there. So It's the same concept, right? The same concept of exactly how this can play out in, with customers. If they don't know that we're trying to truly help them, they're never going to know, because all they think is that this, if I go down there, if I tell them the truth, if I tell them everything that's going on, they're just going to repo my car. They don't care.
Yeah.
That's it.
So you just gave me one quick way I want to kind of ask collectors and trainers of collectors to think about it. It's like, You talked about that when a customer walks in the door, they can see you smile. And I would challenge collectors when they're on the phone, can the customer hear you smile?
Amen.
Right?
Amen.
Can they hear that you are coming from a place of, it's like, do I want to, do I want,
Bullseye.
am I calling with a positive attitude? And part of the reason I'm interested in the tone piece is because I personally, we've recommended this, Bill, to dealers over the years, and I can't think of anybody who's actually implemented in the way that I would suggest. But I would say the tone early on is one of cooperation and concern. It's like we're approaching the customer because they've done 4 payments right on time in a row, and now we're reaching out to them right away out of concern. Our tone is one of compassion and concern. And now, we continue to be sweet and helpful. Now, it could transition at a certain stage of delinquency into more of a serious and, more of that bulldog mentality. And so we get a little more serious. Then my recommendation would be after that, if that still doesn't produce results, I'd switch back into, sweetheart mode and try to get them to talk to me. And so it's like, I think this is part of what the attitude, and Bill, we know it's a challenging time in our industry, right? Buy here, pay here's tough. We know there's tons of opportunity for buy here, pay here in the coming years. I think these kind of things are going to be what helps us kind of allow dealers to be more successful, because it's saving loans. If you spend all this money to get a car and create a contract, then you're certainly going to want to work hard to keep it. And so I think, that means to me, all these things that we're talking about help to, create this situation where we've got a chance, if we communicate to the customer and we can make them believe that we truly care about their success and that we're here to help, that should be in our tone of voice all the time. And listen, we know it's a frustrating, difficult job for collectors.
Sure, it is.
If we got to take a little break, and so that we don't bring the frustration of the last customer into the next phone call or whatever, then, we probably need to do that. But it is a difficult job. And I think we want to make it easy for the collectors as possible. And all the things we're talking about, in my mind, are part of how you do that. It's create an environment where the collectors are there to help, not to chase and sort of take a punitive, thing and be really harsh with the customer. I think now we can have more success.
Sure. Absolutely. Everything you said is exactly, the way that, it should be approached. There shouldn't be anything different as far as, how people should be approaching. And I think it was a message that just came up that said, be nice. You bet. Absolutely. Yeah. Be nice. If you don't have the attitude, and, it's having that mirror right in front of you that you can see yourself smile, because as soon as you start to see yourself frown, then you're losing at that point in time. Yeah. You're losing that point. And it's every one of these individuals, they're trying to, I never sold or leased a vehicle that I wanted back at any point in time. I did that because I was trying to help somebody. They convinced me, they convinced themselves that they wanted to do business with me, and they convinced me that I wanted to do business with them. But at the end of the day, I want them to keep that. I don't want it back. I'm not that, 90 days, I'm picking them up. No, look, I made a good deal with them. I'm trying to figure out what they can do. Now, if all of a sudden, they're just being, totally, they're not talking to you at all. Well, I get it. I get that repossession. That's a question I get asked all the time. Bill, they're not talking to me. Why would I even want to give this back to them? Well, did you even ask them where the relationship went wrong? Did you even understand that part of it? Because if you don't, and if you never did, it's like never watching a football film of a team that you're going to be playing or that you just played to figure out what else you can do differently.
Yeah.
You got to go back and review what didn't work so that going forward, it works.
It's a postmortem. And I think that they're really important. Every repo should have some kind of postmortem. What did we do wrong? How can we improve next time? One of the things that you mentioned earlier, and this is just a thought that came to me. I come from a background of a lot of customer service as well. And so I had a team, about 20 people across the US, and I sent them all through the mail mirrors, and we had a training on keep the mirror on your desk and watch yourself. I mean, and see how your inflection and the tone of your voice changes when you change the way that your face looks as you're talking to them. Because it's really hard when you have a scowl and a furrow to sound friendly. But, one of the things that you just said, and it just made me think, it's that we struggle sometimes getting our customers when they're in a tight spot, when they're in a place where it's like, I don't want to answer the phone. I don't want to answer the phone. And you said the it's like emojis don't do the thing. What if, we've talked an awful lot about having a library of short video that explains different things. If you're having a problem, please come in. What if a collector had the ability to do a quick video that says, hey, June, this is, just we're trying to reach out to you. We missed you on Friday. Please call if there's anything that we can do to help, and send the video via text and email.
That's a phenomenal idea. And you know what? I think a little bit of cost might be kind of, into that point of it, because you'd have to have, what is it, MMS versus SMS.
Mm-hmm.
But that would be so easy to be able to show somebody, hey, look, I'm here. I'm this person.
Mm-hmm.
You're talking to me. So there's a few things you get from that. You get the picture of the person you're talking to.
Mm-hmm.
You get, the inflection of, I'm here to help you. I'm trying to talk to you. And because you don't get that from an email, you don't get that from a text, and a little smiley face is not going to do it for you. But those are, and you open up that door, because who doesn't want to see someone smile?
Mm-hmm.
I'm a firm believer, positive things equal positive results, and you're going to have so many of those kind of going on if you're positive about this. So I agree wholeheartedly. And I think that that's exactly right.
And I think a couple of things we're running a little long, and I should have warned our folks.
Sorry.
But
no,
it's
all your fault.
It's a rich topic. So we'll be back for more of this, but no, I thought of a couple of things we might want to think about as we kind of wrap up here, in terms of more last minute ways to maybe save some of our repos. One thing that I would like to see dealers adopt would be an approach where, when they've kind of gone through that bulldog thing, and before they give up, like before they actually, send out a repo order, that, they would create a call that's from, let's call it the asset management department, but it's really friendly. Like it's the tone when I call myself, the asset management department or the asset manager, that alone is kind of says, okay, things have changed, things are shifting. But if my tone is really positive and I'm here to try to save this, then that's one thing. And then one other tip, Bill, that I have used, and I can't say that it saved a ton of accounts, but it saved a few, and it's worth a sticky note. What I used to do in my own dealership is where we had, we had a requirement after a repossession to send out a notice of sale. Well, the notice of our intent to sell the collateral, right? Because we've repossessed and we've taken that action. So one of the things that most customers haven't been through that. We go through it all the time. We issue those orders all the time or send those notices. But for the customer, when they receive it as certified mail or however it arrives with them, that's very scary and threatening, right? But if there's a sticky note written on there, handwritten, that says we may still be able to work out something, please give us a call. It's a little sticky, handwritten note. I haven't compromised anything in the legal document. It's just an intent that says I may still be able to help. Please reach out. And so I'm just trying to, even one last effort to say we're still open. And I've always said, I'll always listen to a customer. Like just what you said is, I need to know what happened, and maybe there's a way to save it, but I'll always meet with the customer and be happy to hear what the circumstances were.
Absolutely. So one other thing to that, Jim, I'm sorry, did I cut you off? I didn't mean to.
Oh, good.
So one other thing that I'm going to add to that is, when does management actually make that phone call? Because if the person that's doing the collections is the one that's always making the phone call, and they help make that decision, and they tell the manager, and this is terrible. Oh, this does. You know what? I got on a phone call with somebody the other day, and I made a phone call to them, and you know what? When I hung up, they just were loving life. They thank you so much. We appreciate it. The way because it was a totally different person. That is also a big key factor as well.
Mm-hmm.
If you do that and just that little thing, but that is one thing that always is going to be successful, is if you can at least make your customer understand, I'm here.
Yeah.
I'm open. Just talk to me. But I like that sticky note idea. Great idea. Great thoughts, because again, get the manager involved. Get somebody that just says, hey, you know what? I want to be able to help you. We've sent out amnesty letters, and I say amnesty, but we're going to give them a chance. Hey, look, just talk with us. At the end of the day, we just want to understand what happened here.
Sure.
You've turned in your car. We've got your vehicle right now. Can you just at least talk with us? And I find too many times we don't even try to talk to them. Nobody does.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And we lose out on that just one opportunity right there. Just that. Just because, we're so upset. And here's the last little bit. And I promise to hang up after this. I want to tell you, when you hang up the phone, nobody would ever talk negatively about my customers. Because if they ever did, I said, you don't need to be here.
Right.
That's important.
Yes.
That attitude.
Yes.
When you get off the phone, oh my goodness, it's terrible. Blah, 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 blah. Hey, that's my customer you're talking about right there. Don't talk negatively about my customer.
Yeah.
I get it. You can be frustrated and upset, but let's figure out a solution, because the most important thing is that we get this person to continue to pay, or we figure out what we're going to do at that point in time. So anyway, I promise that was it. That was the last thing.
Yeah.
So much stuff to talk, so many great ideas I think were shared. And yeah, it was a great topic, and I think there's probably more that we can unpack.
Yeah. Always fun to have you around. Let's figure out another time to have you come back and see us.
We love it.
You know what? Those old fashioned, although this is not, those old fashions will definitely, be hopefully flowing a little bit more at NIADA or some of the other conferences. So look forward to it.
And then the next time you're in Salt Lake, please let us know, because we'll get together.
Stand by for just a minite while we wrap up.
Will you just stand by? Okay, excellent. We'll see you backstage. Thanks again, Bill, for joining.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thanks, everybody.
All righty. Yeah.
So good.
Great information. We spent the first 10 minutes just talking about silly stuff, but really got into some good meaty stuff.
Yeah. And I think this is one of those things that dealers know this. It's just that, there's, in my understanding, there are two ways to grow your account base. One is to sell a few more cars. Another way is to save a few more accounts. Like if you can keep them from going to repo and keep them from dropping off the portfolio, then, that's time and money well spent. So we'd like to save as many of those. And just a quick reminder, we got Maggie Pogasic joining us next Friday. I don't think we have anything else scheduled. We got to figure out our schedule for next week, but we'll be on collections.
All right, guys, have a great day. And it's Friday.
Yep.
Enjoy your day.
Have a good weekend.
Thanks.